Howdy y'all, I'm Jacob. Welcome back to the ranch. This is Benji. He is our herd sire and the very first calf we ever had born out at the ranch. Breeding season for the cow herd is rapidly catching up to us. We've got a couple weeks until we need to get Benji out with the herd so that he can get to work. This year is a little bit different for us in that this is the first time we have a group of replacement calves that we're holding on to. So we're having to split up the herd. We're going to bring back those that Benji can't be with out here when we move him out with the main herd. So in order to do that, we're going to have to get a pasture set up to hold the calves, and we need to get the working corral moved out with the cow herd so that we can get the calves sorted off and get him in with the group. I don't know how much of that I'm going to be able to get done this weekend, but that's what we're working on. So let's get started. What we're going to knock out first is getting the corral pens ready to move out with the herd. These pens are brand new and they are not used to them. So since we have a couple weeks until we need to get the herd sorted and moved, I want to get the pens out there so that they can get used to them, so it's not a fight to catch them whenever the time comes. We're going to be making the sorting pens out of these 24-foot freestanding cattle panels. My in-laws purchased these at the beginning of summer so that we could set up shade for the horses since our run-in shed got destroyed at the end of spring. When we first got these, we welded on these posts so that we could attach shade panel for the horses during the heat of the summer. And they've used it a little bit, but I think they prefer just standing out in the sun because I don't think they care for the movement of the shade cloth. But in order to get these ready to move, we're going to end up having to pull these posts out so that we can transport them. But before we can do that, I need to get trailers moved around so that we've got access to get the panels in and out. Alright, I got the trailers moved, and I should have a clear path to move the panels out through the gate and onto the trailer. I think it's going to be easier to go ahead and load them, and I'll get the risers cut off since I've got power closer over here. I'm going to get the forks hooked up and start getting the panels moved. Well, I got a little bit of a problem. I don't think that's gonna fit. I guess we moved those panels in there before we assembled our horse stall that we've been working on. So I guess I'm gonna have to take this apart and move it out of the way first. Always something. I guess while we're on the subject, I can kind of talk you through what this is exactly. So these panels and bow gates that we're working on are going to make up the stall runs and end gates for our future barn. And what they consist of is you've got 10-foot panels that are pinned together, and then you've also got these vertical posts that will be used for attaching either shade cloth or a temporary roof to give the horses shelter. This bow gate is a 12-foot wide gate with a split end gate on it, and that'll make up the end of each of the runs So if you can kind of imagine, the runs are going to be 30 feet long, so we'll have 3 of the 10-foot panels, and then at the end of every run, we'll have 1 of the 12-foot boat gates. Because our future plan is to have 12 by 12 stalls with a 30-foot run on them. Until we get to that point, we're going to pin these together out in the horse pasture to give the horses shelter, so that they have something to get away from the sun or the rain if they ever decide to do that. I think the biggest thing that's going to be stopping me from getting the cattle panels out though is this bow gate. So I'm going to see if I can unpin it and just move it back out of the way. Panels are loaded. Now we gotta see if we can get these posts out that we've welded on. As you can see, this is how these were meant to go together. We've got 2 1-inch ID sleeves, and this 1-inch rod went in them. And unfortunately, of the 6, this is the only one that will even try to budge. I've taken a sledge at them, and this rod is pretty much seized in here from us welding this tube on. I guess we got it just a little too hot. So I'm going to take a grinder at it and see if I can hopefully get it to come loose with just cutting the top pipe off. If not, I may just have to cut the rod and be done with it. See if I can't be just a little more smart about this. worked. So I think this one's loose enough I may be able to drive it in. I've got this 5/8 rod, and this is what we moved to for pinning those panels together. Let's see if I can use that to drive this out. This may end up being a little easier than I thought. You know, this might have been a little bit easier to have done before I loaded them. Really wish I could have gotten that first one out like that, but it was seized up pretty well. But the only thing left is to bundle these together, chain them down to the trailer, and take them out to the cows. But it's a little bit late for that. That's about an hour and a half one-way trip, and it's starting to get late. I got chores to get done to get the critters around here fed, so that's gonna have to wait till tomorrow. Well, I didn't get much video shot of it, but yesterday the in-laws and I were able to get those panels moved out to the cow pasture and set up. The biggest reason we wanted to do that early is so that the cows would have a chance to get used to those pens, since they've never seen them, we've never had them out there before. So hopefully with a little bit of time they'll get used to them and it won't be a big hassle getting them rounded up whenever we need to sort off the calves. We did get a good idea of what additional panels we need, so we'll probably end up picking those up here in the next few days, get that pen finished off. Didn't shoot much video, but I did get some of the herd as we were rounding them up to do wellness checks on them, just to make sure everybody was accounted for. We're going to take a little bit of a detour this morning, stop working on prep for moving the cattle, and go back to working on the goats. So we've got a small group that we can haul off to sale. These are mostly the coals we pulled out of the main herd, as well as some that have been on standby waiting for a load to go to auction. So we've got the trailer hooked up, and we're going to go hopefully get them loaded up real quick and get them off to the sale house. So let's get going.
on, girl. Come up here and get it. Come on. Careful. I'll make it. No, baby, you stay in there. Get back in there. Get back in there. Oh. Good birdie. Smart.
Wasn't able to get much video of it, but we were able to get those 11 goats dropped off at the auction without really any issue. There's really something to be said for having the right equipment and facilities to make moving animals around a lot easier. Makes it less stressful both on you and the animals. And it makes your work a lot easier. Well, doesn't really feel like we got a lot done this weekend, but we're able to get the cattle pens set up. Ended up moving the goats again, and we got that group sent off to auction. We should have one more group this year. It's going to end up being the culls and those that don't make the cutoff for breeding come this fall. And that should be it for, at least for the goats this year. We still have some questions on what cows we'll be selling and whether or not we'll be retaining any of the yearling heifers or not. There's definitely quite a few of the goats in this herd, those that haven't been negatively affected by the worms as much, that are doing really well out in this rotational setup. I'll be excited to see how the does are doing when we do our breeding checks come fall. I'm hopeful we'll have several that are doing really good. We have a few out here that body scoring wise, they look really good and they perform well. So I'm hoping having them in this setup, rotating through the pasture like this, that they'll continue to do well, and we'll use those does as the foundation for growing the herd if that's what we continue to do. Well, I'm going to get this water unloaded, and I think I'm going to sit out here and enjoy the nice peaceful sunset. Thank y'all for coming along again, and we hope to see you next time on Wag Ranch. You just don't know when to quit. Oh, sure, he stops when I turn the camera on. Make a liar out of me.